Hey YouTube, welcome in. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm just hopping on very quickly, unscripted, unfiltered. I want to talk about Questrade and some breaking news that came out, I think it was yesterday, that they're going to $0 commission trading. No commissions. And that's a big change for Questrade. So I want to dive into it today. This is a big deal. So Questrade, if you're not familiar, it's one of Canada's leading brokerages. If you're investing in the stock market, or maybe you're not, then you might be interested in this. It just got a bit easier. So two main brokerages in Canada, really, Wealthsimple, Questrade. A lot of people, I feel like, have been moving towards Wealthsimple, partly because there's no commissions on their trades. So when you do make a trade, $0, no fees. That's great. Low barrier to entry, Wealthsimple, super user-friendly. It is very simple to use, which is great. User interface couldn't be simpler. Couldn't be easier to get started. If you haven't started, get the app on your phone. It's fantastic. There's a desktop version. It's good too. Questrade, on the other hand, bit clunkier, I would say. Bit worse customer service. And up until this point, there were fees on trades. And as a smaller investor, when I was first getting started, that was annoying. You know, you'd have to pay basically $4.95 per trade that you made, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it adds up pretty quickly. And then when you have competitors like Wealthsimple who charge nothing, you start to think, well, why would I use Questrade? Why wouldn't I use Wealthsimple? In my case, I started with Questrade. It seemed more reputable at the time. They had free index funds, so the stocks had a fee, but if you were investing just in index funds, very minimal fee, if not no fee. And so most of my money is in index funds. That's what I recommend you do as well. So it made sense to use Questrade. The fees weren't going to become that big of a deal. That said, while like 65% or so of my portfolio is in just a broad market index fund, I do invest in individual stocks as well. And so those fees, like I said, they add up. They're annoying. They seem unnecessary when the competitors are still able to stay competitive while charging no fees. And so that's why I ended up opening two accounts, kind of as a trial. See, compare, contrast the two different brokerages, right? So I have a TFSA in Questrade. I have a TFSA in Wealthsimple. I've mentioned some of the pros and cons of each. One thing that's been historically, I'd say, better about Questrade is that you can hold US cash. So it's been better. It's been my preference for holding US stocks was to do that in Questrade. And then Wealthsimple, they make a lot of their money on the conversion fees, converting from the Canadian to the US dollar. And then you can't actually hold US cash. So when you are trading US stocks, those fees really start to add up if you're using Wealthsimple. So with this change that they've announced, basically eliminating the $4.95 fee for trades on Questrade, I'm curious if that makes them more competitive. I feel like it was probably something they felt they had to do because their competitors, Wealthsimple and others, are growing, and they've managed to reduce that fee. So I think they probably got forced into it a little bit, forced their hand, have to reduce those fees. But now, with no fees, no commission trading, and with the ability to hold US stocks and US cash, I should say, and lower conversion fees, I think that they become pretty competitive, actually. And I would say the app is worse, for sure. You'll notice if you start to sort of compare them to Wealthsimple, the app is worse. But able to hold a number of different accounts. So you can have like your first home savings account on there. You can have an RRSP. You can have a TFSA. So they do have more accounts available than Wealthsimple does, I believe. But Wealthsimple is pretty rapidly expanding, honestly. They're making changes very quickly. I feel like in a matter of time, it's going to be the no-brainer selection. But this is Questrade's attempt, trying to claw us all back. So I think they've also reduced the commissions for options trading, which is helpful if you're into that. It's not something that I'm really into, but I know that the fees previously were a bit of a hindrance, especially if you were only selling a few contracts or buying a few contracts. So big news if you're into Canadian investing. Questrade trying to make themselves more competitive, more attractive to new investors. I also saw today that they've put out like a 3% transfer incentive. So if you see this news and you're interested in switching to Questrade, it sounded like they have like up to a 3% match or something, the amount that you transfer into that brokerage. So that might be something to look into. But if you haven't started, I recommend Wealthsimple. Super easy. You can do it on your phone. But now I feel like level playing field. Maybe there's two options to choose from. You can do what I've done, which is like start an account in both. You can have as many TFSAs as you want, as long as you don't go over that contribution room or the contribution limit. So something to consider. I just thought I'd hop on out of interest. This is kind of big news if you're into investing, and I just thought, why not come on and talk about it? So if you have heard the news, I'm curious what you think. Does this make you more likely to put your money into Questrade? Are you already in Questrade or Wealthsimple? What are your thoughts between the two? I've mentioned some of my sort of pros and cons, my thinking behind the two, but I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.